Hello everyone, I'm Tectonic Improv, and I was wondering, did you play this? Welcome to a new series of videos I'm starting called Did You Play This? It's about games from my childhood that have been lost to the flow of time, or are always obscure to begin with. To start off this series, I'm going to be taking a look at Titus's Prehistorik Man. Yes, that Titus, the developers of Superman 64. Rest assured, this game is significantly better than Superman 64, but does that mean it's good? Well, I'll answer that later. First, I have to clarify what version of Prehistorik Man I'm referring to, because there's a few. To begin with, there's the DOS version, which is actually titled Prehistorik 2. I didn't really play games on my PC until a few years ago, so I have no memories with this version of the game. Not to mention, from my extensive research, it seems like it's fairly different from the other versions of Prehistorik Man, those being the Super Nintendo and the Game Boy Advance versions. Those two are pretty much the same game, except the GBA port has a lot of the problems that most SNES to GBA ports have in common, but I'll get to those later. Back when I was a kid, my mom got me this game for the GBA on a whim. I was already interested by the title alone, because it reminded me of one of my favorite games back then, Joe and Mac. The story goes like this. In prehistoric times, a group of dinosaurs sneak into a caveman tribe and steal their entire food supply. The village elder gives the caveman Sam the task of heading to a perilous area far to the north, known as the dinosaur graveyard. In this world, bones are used as currency, and I'm sure you can guess what the dinosaur graveyard is loaded with. With this fortune of bones, the tribe could buy more than enough food for the winter, not to mention the amount of food Sam could find along the way. As a reward for saving his tribe, Sam will be given the role of leader of the tribe in the elder's stead. Sam accepts his task, and along with a few of his friends, they embark on a journey to the dinosaur graveyard. When I first played the game, I loved it. The visuals are extremely expressive and unique. It's got a Saturday morning cartoon vibe, which I really like. Whenever Sam, the main character, gets hit by an attack, you'll see an expressive reaction out of him. All of the enemies have the same expressions too. This gives the game loads of personality. One of my favorite things about this game though, to this day, is the shout mechanic. It's essentially a screen nuke that charges over time, which in and of itself is shallow, but this screen nuke is literally Sam screaming at the top of his lungs, killing every enemy around him. I find this hilarious still. Combining this mechanic with Sam's mannerisms gives you an idea of what kind of guy he is without outright telling you anything. It's great, and it highlights the game's biggest strength, the presentation. The locations of the levels are surprisingly well thought out too. In most games you get your typical grass level, jungle level, cave level, etc, etc. They're also usually thrown together back to back with little thought in how they would fit in with the world. Prehistorik Man actually addresses this by making the progress of going through each level feel like an adventure. The game starts in your typical grassy area, then naturally progresses to the next biome, until the final levels put you in the frozen dinosaur graveyard described at the beginning of the game. I can actually picture a world map for this game, and it makes sense. The biggest problem with this is while it makes sense in world, it's kinda boring to get the same couple of levels back to back. Thankfully, they change them up a little bit. You would think that since I have all these memories with this game that I enjoy it a lot, right? Well, not quite. Sorry Prehistorik Man fans, praise is over. This game might have good presentation, but its gameplay leaves a lot to be desired. It's designed like any other run-of-the-mill platformer, but Sam's control infuriates me. It's like he's always in an ice level. He slides around everywhere. Couple that with hit detection I can only describe as eyeballed, and you have yourself an unenjoyable experience. One of the big mechanics involve hopping on the heads of enemies, but I find that much too unreliable due to the control. For every time I manage to hop on an enemy's head, I miss by a sliver and get hit another time. There's also these hang glider levels, which I actually remember enjoying a lot when I was younger, but I guess I forgot how to control them because I was constantly dying at this part. I wasn't able to defeat the boss of the 7th level this time around, although to be fair, I didn't get much farther even when I was younger. Overall, despite some cool things like the semi-open-ended level design or the overall aesthetic, I don't find Prehistorik Man to be a very fun game to play. To anyone who might think my opinion of this game is skewed because of the GBA port, don't, because the port isn't even that bad. In fact, it might possibly be the definitive version of the game for me. It suffers from the trappings most GBA ports have, such as a slightly more washed out color palette and screen crunch, but both aren't as severe as you'd expect. The screen crunch is slight and doesn't hinder the game any more than the SNES version. This isn't Mega Man and Bass, guys, and while the washed out colors are a shame, I think the GBA version makes up for it with the soundtrack. I didn't know this until playing the SNES version of Prehistorik Man for this video, but both games have an entirely different soundtrack. The SNES version has a significantly more goofy, lighthearted OST, while the GBA version goes for more of an adventure feel with a pinch of whimsy. Listen for yourself. Personally, I find the GBA songs to be better than the SNES ones. The only problem is there's too few of them. They're reused a lot. Still, I gotta wonder why they changed the music at all. The only reason I could think of is they couldn't replicate the music on the GBA sound chip. If anyone somehow has insight into this, please let me know. If I had to describe Prehistorik Man in one word, it'd be potential. This game has a lot going for it, but it's all for naught due to the simple fact that the game just plain isn't very fun to play. I want to like this game, I've always wanted to like this game, but I'm sorry Sam, I can't do it. I just can't. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. I've recently started up a second channel with my good friend Nate called Dumpster Fire. We currently have a podcast going called the Dumpster Fire Players Korracast. If you want to hear our thoughts on The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, be sure to check out the annotation. Be warned though, it's pretty raunchy.
There is a love quadrangle going on, and it's fucking awful.
Well, it's more like a love. It's more like a
love
line, yeah, like a zigzag, because Bolin likes. Also, the audio is a little subpar. We're working on it. Trust us.